January. But then somebody's sick and then the pandemic. So now we finally get it. Thank you so much, Ramya. I'll leave the night with Ramya. She is a radio program producer and host. So she's gonna facilitate tonight. We're all gonna have fun. So now, Ramya, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Young. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. I see that a lot of people are still coming to the meeting. So that's really awesome. We have a full Friday night right now. I do want to let you know before I get into any of the presentation that we are recording this Zoom meeting. So if you have any concerns, well, firstly, I would really appreciate if everybody just muted their microphone so we get rid of any background noise, and turn off your videos if you can, so that we have a better quality recording for Zoom. And then later on in the night, we'll talk about turning off the recording if any of you want to do that, and also turning on our videos and unmuting and chatting with each other. But for now, thank you so much for Young, for inviting me to talk today. And I'm really excited to learn about your culture club. It was a while ago that I was supposed to present with you guys, but it took forever because of the pandemic, like Young was saying. So this is a very highly anticipated experience for me. I'm really excited. Thank you. I'll start off with my story. And my story is kind of long, so I'll try to shorten it as much as possible. But in this story, I just want to give you some context on my personality, the things that I do, and why I am the way I am, because I went through quite a journey to get where I am today. And I'm 27 years old right now. So it's been at least 9 years of adulthood, right? If you can call it in Canada. Legally, you turn adult at 18. So I'll give you a little bit of an overview of what it was like for me to make adult decisions. I moved out when I was 18, so I moved out from my parents' house. I'm a first-generation Canadian, so I came here from Sri Lanka when I was 2 years old, and my mom and dad immigrated here with me, and then they had 2 other children. So I've been here for a really long time, but I was born on an island in South Asia. It was a difficult decision for me to move out of my house, of my parents' home. And I think that it was something that we had to do to kind of better our relationship, because my parents and I had a lot of disagreements on how I should be living, the things that I should be doing or not doing because of my disability. I want to, if you could give me 1 second, I'm just going to turn off this chime. There you go. We should be good now. Okay, so we won't. Harry has joined the meeting. Dings and dongs when people enter and exit the meeting. All right, so I was saying that my parents and I had a really interesting relationship on the things that I should be doing or the way that I should be behaving and things like that, because I have a disability. I have a visual impairment. I'm legally blind here in Canada. And as an immigrant, when I came to Canada, my parents always tried to protect me. They tried to make sure that I was okay. I went to public school, so my parents wanted to know that I was able to do everything that all the other kids were doing. You know, the education part, the playing in the schoolyard, that me and my brothers were, you know, we were fine, right? Just like every other decision. So that kind of led to me thinking that I had not as much freedom as other kids. So when I was 18, I moved out of my house because a cat has joined the meeting. Is independence. I wanted to be independent. I wanted to go out and do things. I wanted to know that I can cook if I wanted to, use a stove, all these big decisions that I thought adults should be able to do. So that's why I moved out. I started to travel on my own. I went to Guyana, which is a country in the in South America, in the Caribbean islands. And I went to Guyana with a friend. I met a friend there, but it was my first time traveling without the family. So it was a huge step for me. I was only 18 and I was like, I'm going to do this trip. I'm going to go, I'm going to vacation. It's the summertime. And my parents were like, what? But I wanted to do it. And it was one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done, because I realized that I could do so much on my own if I could get up and pack a suitcase, get on an airplane, and go across the world to another place. You know, it makes you feel powerful. It makes you feel independent. So I was like, hey, what else can I do? I traveled on buses, trains, airplanes to get to many places. I've traveled on my own and with friends, with other blind and low vision people, actually, ever since, a lot. I did find one thing very difficult in my life, though, since I moved out. And it's something
Harriet
that
has
you
left
may not think is a difficult thing to do, but it's my social life. So for you guys, you have this amazing community of people who come together in a meeting, you know, once a month maybe, or every 3 weeks, or depending on what you want to talk about. You guys all have this in common, right? You have a community. For me, I found it really hard to find my community. I didn't like my programs at school. I'm actually very introverted, and if that's a word that you've never heard before, it means I like to spend lots of time by myself. I like doing things on my own. I like spending quiet time. I don't like loud parties. Like when I was a teenager, nobody could get me to a party. I didn't want to be there. So it's hard to find people to hang out with. It's hard to socialize with people or meet new people or feel comfortable talking to people for the first time. But I forced myself when I was younger to try to get over this anxiety of talking to new people, so that I can get comfortable in louder environments, talk to strangers, say yes to things that I would usually say no to. And that's what brought me to where I am today. I think that I can do a lot more because I learned to be more social. Young and I, we met in several different contexts, but we do skiing together with the Toronto Ski Hawks. And that's a whole bunch of blind and low vision people in the Toronto area. We go out skiing in a lot of different places, but it's a lot of fun, and it's something that's very, very adventurous.
Jason Tong has.
So sometimes you think that, oh, a lot of blind people getting together and doing all these crazy things, crazy adventurous things. Well, it started really small, right? For a lot of us, it started with leaving our homes and going to the library, or leaving our homes and going to the grocery store, some things like that. That's where it started for me, at least. Now I work in radio, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But the other thing that is really kind of interesting that my parents never talked to me about was money. I spent money like crazy. When I was 18, imagine, you know, I moved out of my parents' house. I started to get a check from the Ontario Disability Support Program. After spending money on rent, I would spend it on myself. I would spend it on food. I would spend it on going out with my friends. I was at the mall every weekend. That's how I spent my money. And I'm learning now at 27 years old, which some people will say it's very young. You're good. Start now. But to me, it feels old because I've been getting or making money for at least 9 years. I'm finally starting to save money, finally starting to care about what you can do with money and what money can do for you. Because before this, for many years, I just spent money frivolously and I didn't care where it was going. I just wanted to enjoy the weekend. So now I'm learning, and that's another part of my journey, that it's not just about today. It's not just about how fun I'm feeling or how good I'm feeling this weekend. I need to think about the future and the future me. One of the other things that I thought about when I moved out was prioritizing my family. So, as I said at the beginning, when I moved out, before I moved out, my family and I had a very sticky relationship. You know, my mom and I especially had a very sticky relationship. We didn't see eye to eye in everything, but when
George has joined,
I felt like I could have a better relationship with my mom, especially. And we're the only 2 girls. After that, it's my 2 brothers and my dad. And the boys, they're easy. But girls, we're very emotional. And me and my mom had to find a lot of things to talk about and a lot of things to make sure that our relationship is okay. So I had to prioritize my family, even though I wasn't living with them. And it got easier to prioritize my family, actually. When I wasn't living with them, I missed them all the time. I wanted to go there to do laundry. I missed my mom's cooking all the time. I don't know how to cook Sri Lankan food. So any chance that I got, I would go over to my mom's house. All our birthdays, I would spend time with them. Special occasions, you know, Christmas, New Year's, I always spend it with them. I never spend it with friends because now that I'm not living with them, I miss them a lot. So that's something I want to talk about.
Vivian has left
because school was something that I struggled with a lot, and school is something that even now I'm very surprised that I graduated from college. I tried 2 different programs here in Toronto: English program at Ryerson University and music at York University, and I found it very difficult to like what I did at school. I didn't talk to other students. I never took part in campus activities. You know, sometimes these
Yang Wang to everyone.
Social activities are really, really great because you can meet people, you can talk to people, you guys can all do homework together. But I never did that. I just went home after school and I hated it. And I didn't ask for help. It was a very hard part of my independence. So it was very special for me to graduate from college because I took a year off after my 2 programs, and then I did a lot of research on the things that I wanted to do, and then I ran into radio broadcasting. So radio broadcasting is what I do now, which is, thank goodness, I'm very, very lucky to have even found a radio program in Toronto to hire me. But the research that I did, I called professors, I annoyed everybody with questions, I did everything, and that's how I ended up getting my job, right? I didn't want to jump into anything. I didn't want to spend more money, and that's what I did. I ended up with the program at Seneca. It was 2 years of studying. I loved everything about it. There was a lot of hands-on learning, so not just books and textbooks and academics, but doing audio and everything like that. A lot of people who loved being there, so I loved it. I graduated as the valedictorian from that program, and it was an
ZL has joined.
They picked me, and I really love my professors. I even keep in touch with them right now, so it's amazing. So landing a job and keeping a job are 2 different things. I landed a job at Accessible Media Inc., AMI. It's a radio station in Toronto, and for 3 years now I've been working there, and I've kept the job. It wasn't easy doing this. I went into the workforce straight from school. I was very intimidated. Everybody who worked
George has joined.
Everyone who works there has worked there for years. I'm talking like a lot of older people than me, a lot of experienced people from broadcasting, people who worked internationally, and now, you know, I'm this new person. How am I going to do it? And especially with my disability, I was very nervous about a lot of things. And it's hard finding a radio job in Toronto, as I was telling you guys. A lot of people move out of Toronto so they can find any job at all, anything that pays. But then they ended up hiring me full-time after my internship, and it was so hard. I remember that I called my mom when they offered me this job. I called my mom, and I was telling her, I walked out of the office after they offered me. I walked out, I went to Metro, and I sat outside, and I called her, and I just started crying. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to do this job. You need to help me. I can't do it. I feel like it's a lot of pressure in radio. And she told me that I'm still young.
Helen has left them.
I can learn on the job. I can spend years doing it. And then, so I took the job. I trusted my mother and I took the job, and it turned out really amazing to me. I learned a lot of stuff in the first year of finding a job. I always think that it doesn't take one day. It doesn't even take 1 month. It at least takes 1 year to do a job right and to learn your role. And that was my experience, at least. I think that a lot of people go through it, it doesn't matter what job it is, you'll still take forever to learn your job and to feel comfortable, especially because I was a student, right? So these hours, 9 to 5, whew, that's a long day. So where I am now with my career, I'm hosting and producing the afternoon show on AMI, Accessible Media Inc., called Kelly and Company. It's live radio. It's a very fun and entertaining show. We have a lot of energy
Zoe's
on the
iPhone
show, and we talk a lot. because we're very talkative, me and Kelly McDonald, if you've heard of him. We travel all around Canada making content when it's not COVID, obviously. And I talk directly to people in the disability community. So people with disabilities, they talk to us and we talk to them. It's really, really fun. Our team is very small, only 4 people on the show. And everyone's really nice to each other. So it's amazing. I find that the best parts of my job are going to cities that I've never been to before. Before I got this job, I was only in Toronto, aside from traveling outside of Canada. But now I get to learn inside Canada, Vancouver, Halifax, Newfoundland. I've been to so many places, Montreal, even other parts of Ontario that I've been to lots and lots of places, so I'm very excited about that. I talk to lots of people. I was telling you, I used to be very nervous about talking to people. I talk to everybody now. I'm more comfortable. I wouldn't say I'm 100% comfortable, but I'm getting there. And I'm sharing my opinion with people who care and relate to me. I think that it's really important that we get to know each other and say, okay, if you need something from me, ask me for it. Or if you want me to give you more information or help you in some way, let's talk about it. And that's why I think that this job is amazing for me, because I get to talk to people, but I also get to listen to people. It is very social for me, though, because 2 hours, it's 2 to 4 p.m., and it's 2 hours of talking.
To everyone,
at the
Sarah.
end of the 2-hour show, I feel very, very exhausted. So the challenges that I face, I really want to get into this as well. I'm always trying to do the best that I can, but it's not always healthy, right? Because I'm pushing myself beyond everybody else. If I'm the only person in my team, let's say, for example, who has a disability, then I'm always pushing myself to do better, to be as good as everybody else. And sometimes that takes a toll on you. At the end of the day, you feel more tired than other people because you feel like you've done more to prove yourself. Finding a work-life balance is also hard, making sure that you do your work hours, but after your work hours, you're spending time with your family, your friends, yourself, and sleeping properly, eating properly. A lot of times we take advantage of these things and we don't realize that it's important. It's very important to spend time on sleep and eat and friends and family and books and TV, whatever it is that you do to relax and spend some time just, being yourself and not putting so much pressure on you. It's very important. I had more time off when I was a student. I only get 15 days of vacation, so that was kind of hard when I first started. And I'm learning to do my job better every day. Obviously, I'm still learning because I'm only 3 years in, and that's, to me, it feels very new still. I ask for help whenever I need it. This is a hard thing as well.
Calvin Sheng has joined.
Easy to ask for help sometimes. Sometimes you think, oh, why can't I just do it? Why do I have to ask for help? Nobody else asks for help. But it's important to ask for help because that's the only way
Jerry has joined the meeting.
And the only way anybody can succeed, to be honest. We all need help. I use all the technology I can to make life easier for myself, and I engage with the people that I'm working with and the people that are listening to our show. And I've learned a lot from other people. I learned that it's okay to not love where you are right now. So what I mean by that is, if you're in a place where you don't feel happy or you don't feel successful, or that you'd rather be somewhere else, you're at a job, you hate it, you want to be somewhere else, or you're in school and you hate the program, or you're living with people that you're not fond of, it's okay to be
George
there
has
right
left them
now, and you can push yourself and move yourself forward to another position that you will be happy with. Working hard is obviously not easy, but you have to do it because you only have one life to live, and you're not going to get back your days. You're not going to get back today. You're not getting back tomorrow. So these are the only ways that you can improve your life, by moving forward. I'm sure all of you guys can relate to that because you're here, you're participating in things like this and bettering yourselves in whatever ways possible.
YFZ has joined.
And it's okay to take a step back. This is another big thing. Analyze where you are and how you feel. When I was in school and I didn't like my programs, I stopped. I didn't continue with something I hated for 4 years because I thought, why? What's the use in that? So I stopped what I was doing and I took the time off even, And I said, okay, how do I go to somewhere where I want to be right now? So that's one big, big question that I think that we all need to ask ourselves. Are we okay where we are? Do we need to take a step back? And people are going through what I'm going through right now, or people have gone through what I went through, right? So there's always somebody you can talk to that will give you information or support on the things that you need help with. And I do feel good about where I am right now, just an FYI, but it took a long time to get where I am and to feel good about it. I had a lot of rough years, but I do a lot more now. And I know that I won't be here forever, but we can all just take things day by day. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my vocal skills that I've picked up along the way in my life. I didn't really talk to you guys about my vocals, but I sing, and I sang forever. My mom taught me how to sing. My mom put me into singing since I could crawl. So that was one big thing. Now I'm in radio, so I am using my vocals, but it isn't singing. Life is like this. You know, sometimes you have skills and you think, okay, I need to be a musician because I can sing. But that's not true. I use my vocals now. I use my voice. And with public speaking, presenting, performing, all these things are really high quality vocal careers, right? So it's really something that I enjoy a lot. And I thought at this time, maybe because you guys are all interested in speaking and in learning your languages and doing better at speaking to each other, specifically in English in this group, but in general, you know, we all get nervous and we all get anxious about speaking to people, speaking out loud, delivering presentations and things like that. So I thought we could do some vocal exercises together that I'll lead you through, and we could listen to each
George
other.
has left
I
the
will unmute you guys if you're okay with that, and we can all listen to each other and do some exercises together that I do as a vocal coach and a vocal trainer and a singer, so that we can warm up our voices, because I know that later on we're going to do some presentations, some mini presentations from you guys. So if everyone is okay with that, I will unmute now, and let's see if you guys want to mute yourself because you're not interested in this. That's cool too. Feel free and feel comfortable to do what you want to do. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I already unmuted myself. I think people can unmute themselves.
Okay, perfect. So
Hi, my name's Christy. It's very nice to be out here.
Thank you. What did you say your name was?
And my name's Christy Brayley, and it's very nice to be out here. Can you actually turn that talking thing off, though? Because it actually interrupts when you're speaking.
Oh, you guys hear it too?
Yeah.
There's a man's voice saying, like, George joined.
Oh my goodness.
But if that is the way it is, then I think it's okay. It's okay now, Ramya.
Yeah, it's as long as I'm in this screen, it doesn't do it, but I just wanted to see where it is. I don't think I can figure it out.
It's okay, because now I guess a lot of people unmuted themselves. So, Ramya, would you like to teach us?
Okay, so everybody.
Oh, someone told you it's off already.
Off?
Depends on who's running the boat. I'm doing some research. How are you doing some research?
Oh, I'm not sure if that person is talking to us, but we can't really hear you.
Probably just some background. So go ahead, Ramya.
Okay, sounds
teach us, please. It will be fun.
Are we gonna sing?
Let's take out the other cells. Yeah, sure, it's all easy to get.
Yeah.
So, Eric, can you see who is that in the background?
Sorry?
Someone's talking maybe to other people.
It could be Helen or Zoe.
Helen. So, Ramya, would you be able to mute Helen?
I think I'm gonna.
And Zoe's iPhone.
A nose?
Zoe's iPhone.
Zoe. Hi, Zoe. There's a lot of voice sound from your background.
Zoe's iPhone?
Maybe you didn't notice it.
No, not it.
Okay, I see. Now it's okay.
Good? All right.
All right.
Okay.
So
We were doing our vocal exercises where we were going, okay, and it's gonna feel weird too, but it's gonna feel good afterwards. Okay, so do you guys want to try that together?
okay. You're asking us to do this. Okay.
We all have to. I don't
What is that? Something like this?
Yep.
It's like Jeep.
So this is helps you kind of feel comfortable.
9月4号开学吗？这是个假期。
就是11次课
One second.
开始。这课
你这是讲吗？你觉得？
Okay, so I'm gonna mute people while I'm instructing something, and then I'll unmute you guys so you can try the thing with us. Okay. So the next thing is called a sigh. Now this is just to open up your vocal cords, okay, to make you feel more comfortable. So it goes like this. Ah, just nice big sigh.
这样的话，
对，这样的话它会
自然的就上。
对。
那就是11次课是吧？
11和12次
I
课
don't know if anybody
那就是12次课吧。
vocal exercises before, but usually when you hear people warming up, these are called warm-ups, right? Usually when you hear people do it, it sounds very silly, you feel goofy, but it makes your voice feel better. So let's keep trying the sigh.
段还是叫第一什么？
你知道吗？
Okay. And then sometimes we do like a vowel thing where we go I O. Oh, so good. You guys
也
sound
就是12周是吧？
对。
Make sure you're doing it like my face where it looks really bad. Yo, I-O. So,
今天几号？
lots of jaw
6月
loosening up
今
your
天26号。
26号到9月。
Take a deep breath. Okay, so you can't see my stomach, but I want you to breathe in all the way deep, deep, deep into your belly, into your tummy, and not up here in your shoulders. So breathe into your tummy, take a really deep breath, and then breathe out. So it's gonna be like this. Really deep breath though, and try it through your nose, okay? A nice big loud yawn, like sigh out of your mouth. And I don't know if you guys can tell, maybe if any of you smoke, maybe you could feel it in your throat, but like you should be feeling it in your tummy because that's where your voice comes from. Your voice comes from all the way in your belly. It doesn't come from your chest. It doesn't come from your shoulders. It doesn't come from your throat. It doesn't come from your face. It comes from your belly. Okay, so one more time, take a deep breath. Nice. Okay, so those are our warm-up exercises, and so everybody should be nice and warm to start some presentations if you're ready. Yang, if you have any comments at this point or how we are going to choose who would like to participate in our mini mini presentations? Maybe Young is muted at the moment. But do we have anybody who is here with the presentation today? I know it's the first meeting back after a really long time. So if you don't have anything, that's cool. But if you have something, we would love to hear it.
Jerry to everyone from no one.
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, anybody who would like to do this 1 to 2 minutes presentation, you can just jump in or raise your hand. And Eric will be the timekeeper. So when you're ready, Eric will say, okay, start. And he will count the seconds. Ramya sets the time at 2 minutes, right, Ramya?
2 minutes. Yeah, that should be good. And then I can give you guys a pop quiz after your presentation. Maybe do talking.
So Ramya will interview you based on your presentation.
Yes.
It's a good chance to practice your public speech skills. So at our club meeting, every time we meet, in the beginning, we'll do this practice. So we take turns to do this. Sometimes 1 minute, sometimes 2 minute presentation, depending on how many people we got.
So we have a lot of people on the call. So if anybody does have anything that they want to say, or if you want to come out and tell us what you had for dinner or what you've been doing through the pandemic, and maybe if you're comfortable going outside and walking, do you like wearing masks, anything at all, how your community has been affected by the pandemic, something at all, just feel free to shout right now, and then we can get going with some presentations.
Or if you just read the book, maybe you can introduce the book or movie, whatever.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Christy Burley. Are you going to have a recorded webinar for the conference to either by email or by mail?
Yes, we'll have a recording. Ramya recorded this, and yeah, we'll share with people.
Okay, because I would like a copy, and Ramya or you guys should have my email. If you want, I can present it to you now.
Like where did you get to know our meeting today?
I got to know it through the CCB.
Oh, okay. Then I surely can go to CCB Visionaries. I can send it to you, or
please.
I send it to info. Okay, I send to to the administration.
And Ramya, again, I just have another question. Do you offer any voice training sessions privately? And do you have a website?
I do not have a website, but yeah, I do offer training or just general conversation around voice and vocal, whether you're a singer or you just want to practice more presentation skills. I am always available. So you can get my email through Young during.
Okay. Because I've been a singer since I was a little kid, so I would like to do voice warming skills and voice, just fix my voice.
Absolutely. Yeah. If anybody wants to reach out to me, you can definitely let Young know, and I'm happy to talk to anyone who wants to do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
and there's another way you can contact us. We have a website, www.eawlc.org. There you can find this email address, info@eawlc.org, and you can send an email there. Could you?
Okay. Let me just just write it down so I can remember it.
Oh, sure. That's the abbreviation of East and West Learning Club, EAWLC.org. CAWLC.org.
Okay.
Okay, and info at, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for your website and your help.
Sure. Oh, Ramya, and maybe people have questions for you.
Yeah, if I was gonna say, if anybody has any other questions, we can do that right now too. My other option was volunteering people to do presentation.
Oh, yeah, I have a question for you, Ramya. Just now you said it was you learned to say yes when you were supposed to say no. But for me, it's more difficult to say no to people. So how do you deal with that?
Well, actually, you have a really good point, because a lot of the times we have we want to
questions or
opportunities. We don't want to say no because of that, but sometimes that takes over our life. So what I'm finding is that if I say yes to everything, then I don't have time for myself. And that's a huge thing that I've been trying to learn, especially through the pandemic. You know, we have a lot of quiet time, and sometimes we get really bored or really anxious because we can't go outside and socialize. But I realize that I love spending time with myself at home and just doing things that I want to do. So that's the reason why I would say no to people. Not because you need to explain why you're saying no to somebody or explain why you're sorry or you apologize, but sometimes you just can't do everything because you want to spend some time on your own.
Mm-hmm. Like how do you do that politely, but still, you know, say no to people? Sometimes it's difficult.
It is difficult, but I just try to be as direct as possible, because sometimes, you know, when I was younger, I used to make excuses like, oh, sorry, I can't make it. I really wish I could, but blah, blah, blah. But then what ends up happening is you're spinning something into a bigger, either a lie or a bigger excuse than it needs to be. And I find that the more direct you make it, even if it may seem impolite, I think it's just direct. And if someone can't make it somewhere, then it's not our place to feel offended, right? Like if you had someone that couldn't make it to something, you shouldn't feel offended, or you wouldn't feel offended, because you know that people have different commitments or they can't make it to things. But that's my biggest thing. It's just trying to
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Ramya. Hi. Can I ask you a question?
Yes, absolutely.
Hi, my name is Dome. First, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's very, very inspiring. Actually, I really admire your courage to move out when you were 18. Because, you know, in our Chinese culture, usually when kids are 18, they're still like under the cover of their parents. So I'm not sure, like in Sri Lanka culture, that's you know, maybe it's also pretty much, you know, value the big family. So when you move out, is that like how you can reconcile this relationship with your family? Would your family support that action, or how, you know, it's I am a parent, but I might really be struggling if my daughter at that age. So any challenges that you are facing, you know, with your family, with your parents?
Yeah, so that's a really great question, and it's honestly something that I'm working on even right now. So I moved out 18, I'm 27 now. It's been like 9 years, and I still feel there's this, I call it a glitch, right? There's this glitch in my relationship with my family because I'm so young. And female.
So Ramya, can you mute other people, please?
Yeah, I'm just gonna mute it.
Thank you.
Hold on a second. But basically what I was saying is that I I think that my relationship with my family, in my opinion, has gotten better because I love my family and I visit them all the time and they live in the same city as me. But I totally agree with you that it does have a toll on my mother, especially. You're a mother, you're saying, and my mom had the biggest challenge with me leaving. My brothers, because we're under the same generation, we all had the same ideas, right? We didn't have a problem with moving out when we were young, and they didn't have a problem with me moving out even though I was a girl. But my mom, she struggled with it so much, and I think the best thing we can do is talk about it. Like, I try to be as honest as possible with my mom. I tell her that, you know, I love you guys, I really enjoy spending time with you guys, but our relationship was struggling a lot, and that's why I had to move out. Sometimes in my culture it seemed as being selfish. That's the biggest thing. It seemed as seeing like, you're so selfish, you moved out when you were 18, how about your family? That's the cultural implication, right? But I find that the younger generation, we think differently. You guys moved here, like your generation moved here for us, and we see it as now us moving out is not away from your family, but us moving out is trying to become more independent of our family. That's my situation, at least my opinion of it. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Presentation.
And yes, Ramya, I have another question. This is Yang. It's interesting that you said you're an introvert. I think I'm an introvert too. So when I go into a room, like a room of strangers, it's very hard for me to kind of talk to everybody like a social butterfly. I love one-on-one communication. How do you, but you are a host, you're a producer, you got to talk to a lot of people. How do you, manage that?
It's really difficult. It's really difficult. And the more that I find out that I'm an introvert, right? Like, because throughout life, I'm finding out more and more that I'm an introvert. Sometimes when you're younger, you don't realize how much you dislike socializing, because everybody socializes. Teenagers are very social for the most part, right? But as you become an adult, you become more comfortable saying, oh no, you know what? I actually don't like going to parties, or I don't like hanging out with 17 people in a really loud environment. I'd rather just, like you were saying, chill at home with a friend or two, or have quiet dinner, or go and people, stuff like that. I think that I just have to know.
手机也要编个套餐去了，要不然每个月就要好多钱。
I'm not sure.
Can you mute people there?
I can't even find where I was muting people. That's the problem.
It's okay. So is it possible you can switch the host to Eric maybe?
That's what I was wondering, if I could do that.
Yeah, so then he can do that.
Try to do that. I think it would have been easier if
You send orange.
yeah, so I'm gonna try to do that now. But yeah, so that when your energy feels down, or you're starting to feel tired, socially tired, usually that's what it is. Usually I feel like I need to stop when I start feeling really tired. And that's when I know that I have to tell people, okay, I'm going to go home now, or I need to take a break or have some me time, and sometimes just go in the room and just chill by myself. But that's the way that I can tell, because for introverts, I think that you have a really good way of knowing that you're tired from hanging out with people. Oh, I learned to mute people. Okay, so everyone is muted right now. So if you need to say something, please do just unmute yourself and talk to us. Thank you.
So when you come up to a stranger, you need to talk to him. What do you literally say?
Are you talking about just on the street?
Generally speaking, maybe in a room, share with us, please, some tips on how to say small talks or public speech skills.
Mm-hmm. So it's less about public speaking. I find that when you're doing presentations or when you're talking to a bunch of people or you're talking to new people, especially, right? It's easier when you can find common things with them. So if you can tell, whenever I comment on a question that somebody had, I try to relate it back to them, right? Relate it back to the experiences that people can understand and relate to. If you have a question about being an introvert, then when I talk to you, I'll say, as you said, you were an introvert. These are the ways that you can relate. You can make people feel similar to yourself and then have more commonalities with them and have better conversations. Conversations are not easy for people. It's not a thing that you're born with. It's not in your genetic to be good at conversation. Conversation is something that you have to work on. And honestly, in our generation, we're not good at conversations. The majority of us are not, because we text, we don't pick up the phone when people call, we check caller ID and we reject, when people are calling us. So the best thing that people can do is practice conversations. Sit face to face with people that you know or you don't know or that you don't talk often with, and legitimately make yourself feel comfortable with that awkward situation. Nowadays, if you tell someone to put down the phone, it's already an awkward situation because everyone is typing all the time. You're not talking anymore. And that's one thing that my mom and dad are always yelling at us about, right? Why are you guys always on your phone? There's no time of the day that we're not on our phones. And that's why I think that conversation or approaching people has become harder, especially in Toronto. We don't turn to someone on the bus and say, hi, how's your day? That's weird, right? But if you go to a small town, I was telling you guys about Newfoundland earlier. If you go to Newfoundland, everybody talks to everybody. You can't tell if people know each other or if they don't know each other because they just talk. They just pick up conversation. They're friendly to each other. They smile. They just like talking to each other. They're social, right? And that doesn't mean they're not introverts, but it means that they've become good at conversing. They talk and they let themselves say, this is not awkward. Saying hello to somebody is not weird. Or smiling at somebody or telling someone to have a great day or saying, hey, I love you. I love that hat that you're wearing. That's not weird. It's not awkward. We need to bring that back. The cultural implications of just being friendly and being social and not saying, oh, no, I don't talk to people. I live in Toronto or I live in New York. I don't even know my neighbors. I live in an apartment building with 22 floors. I don't know anybody in my building. So that's how it works, right? Anybody else have any questions or comments on this topic?
That's great, Ramya. Thank you.
No problem. So I guess we may not have anybody who's wanting to do a presentation, Young, but if you wanted to open up the floor to anything else, we should be okay for that.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Ramya? Or we can really do this practice. Raise your hand or just jump in to the presentation.
Oh, sorry. Can I ask a question?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm the first time to join this. A friend of mine passed the Zoom ID to me, so it's my first time to join this. Sounds very interesting.
Welcome.
And then, yeah. So I'm just wondering. I don't know if there are any other people just like me would like to learn more about this club, how it's organized. So it sounds to me it's like more like Toastmaster thing. To practice presentation skills. I'm not sure. So if someone can just give me, a brief idea how it's organized, how, the meetings, how it's, any events, that would be great.
Sure. I think Eric shared our website in the chat room. Can you look at that? It's EAWLC.org. There's we have website there. You can check everything there. But basically, in past 3 years, we meet weekly during school years face to face, because we wanted to improve our public speech skills in English. So in the beginning, we all took turns to do this presentation. Then people will ask you questions based on your presentation. And we also picked topics of interest to discuss. So we can practice to voice our opinion in a organized, polite, constructive way. And every month we invited guest speakers like Ramya to come over. I'm very grateful for that because they all came as volunteers. They volunteered their time and expertise to share with us. So we got to communicate with people from other cultures. Before, we also organized the trips to museums like Science Center or Rome, because I got some donation from very generous people. But I don't know what's gonna be this year. So we could buy some, annual pass to the museums. Basically, we wanted to learn both Eastern and Western cultures, and we put a lot of emphasis on Western communication skills. Because I think for Asian immigrants, we need to learn this to really feel at home here. We need to communicate with people in the acceptable way. We need to learn. It's just a matter of learning. That's how it goes. But this year, because of pandemic, we can meet face to face, but we're now organizing these Zoom meetings. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Yang. Thank you. It's really, really helpful. And then it's, actually, it's good. Like even Zoom meeting, it's still, virtual meeting, it still helps.
And you're very welcome to join us. It's free. So everybody, grown-ups or students, whoever share the same interest and values with us, as everybody is equal, whether you're adults or youngsters. Everybody is equal in this club.
Oh, this is great. This is so much needed. I have to say, in the immigrant community.
Thank you very much. You can contact us, and I can send you membership registration form. You're welcome to join us.
Perfect. Thank you, Ramya. Actually, I have another question, if you don't mind. As a color, people of color in this culture, nowadays they're talking about lots of, racist and also Black Lives Matters. How do you feel as a colorful woman in the Canadian workplace? How do you fit in that? What do you think about that?
Yes, this is an interesting dilemma that you end up facing. So when I was in school for English, I was the only colored person. Like, I'm Sri Lankan, but I was the only brown person in my entire program. There were lots of females, but only white females predominantly, and white males. Then when I moved to York University, which, if you guys know York, it's a very diverse place, right, in North York, Toronto. And in that program, it was music. So there was lots of people of all skin colors, all genders, sexes, like sexuality. And then I had to look at myself as a person with a disability. As a person with a disability, I was the only person in that program. So again, I was minority of some sort, right? And in the radio program, I was the only person with a disability as well as the only person of color. So it's really interesting. And it was also male dominated. I think there was maybe 2 or 3 girls in my program, including me. So it's always competitive, always. That's what I grew up feeling and grew up being told by my parents. You are going to have to fight for the things that you want because you're a girl. You were born as a girl, and girls never get it as easily as guys. It's getting much better, obviously, in North America, but it's in our culture, girls never get it as easy as guys, and in general with the way that society perceives things, women never have it as easy. We always have to push harder, we always have to work harder and prove more. That's what I find. And then, not to say, you know, shout out to all the guys out there who are super working hard, obviously, but the women, we know it's a different type of struggle. And then as a woman of color, same thing, because everywhere you go, you're minority, not just visible minority, but you are the minority in the programs that you study, in the places where you work. You're either a young woman of color or an older woman of color who's setting the bar for the younger women of color. And then as a person with a disability, I'm sure you can understand without me even saying, many years of my life, I was the only person with a visual impairment in the public school system, in the school that I was at, in the post-secondary school that I was at, and in my workplace. There are a few people with disabilities because we're a disability-focused organization, but even then, there's not many people of color there. So when you ask how I find it very competitive. I find myself having to constantly prove to people that I have a work ethic. I can do everything that everybody else can do. And it's really hard. We know in our community, to be bilingual, it is an absolute plus. You know, it is amazing. It's a reward to be bilingual and to be able to speak multiple languages. But also, you're always struggling. You're always struggling when you come from another country and you're trying to fit into this place. It's supposed to be multicultural, and in Toronto, it is multicultural, but everybody knows when they come from their own races, you know, for your community, like in the Chinese community, how much of a struggle it is to be okay in a multicultural place. I know as a Sri Lankan person, there's many Sri Lankans in Toronto, but I know how much of a struggle it is to get together with Sri Lankans and talk about this stuff, right? Because you're always trying to prove yourself to the majority of people, and that's able-bodied white males predominantly. That's who I'm proving myself to. So I hope that's okay, and I hope that didn't offend anybody either. But you know, we have to be open with our truths, and that's my truth.
Yeah, I agree. So what is like in Sri Lanka, like community?
In the Sri Lankan community here in Canada, or back home?
Here in Canada, in Toronto.
Yeah, in Toronto, we have a very, very large community of Sri Lankans. Large community. I know that there's a large Chinese community as well. In Toronto, there's a huge Sri Lankan community. However, we don't have a big face in the multicultural scene. So you probably won't walk around downtown Toronto finding Tamil food. Tamil is the language that I speak, but the people as well. So you probably won't find a lot of Sri Lankan food places or Sri Lankan clothing places and things like that. It feels like a niche or a smaller community, but there are thousands. There's at least 100,000 Sri Lankans living in Toronto, but it's harder to get together in a community.
Do you feel like they face some kind of general barriers here to immerse into Canadian culture, or?
Probably similar to other immigrant cultures, which is language barriers, speaking, reading, writing English, because that sets people back. It makes people nervous to interact with other cultures or other people because everybody speaks English, maybe. So you feel nervous. My father, he's been here for 26 years now, but he's very nervous about his English. He doesn't go out and speak to people. He doesn't like going to government offices or places where you need to do paperwork. He doesn't like going by himself because he wants me or my brothers to come so we can help him. Things like that, right? Especially the older generation who came to Canada later in life and find it harder to grasp different things here. It's not that people aren't smart, or it's not that people are uneducated, because everybody knows that the education back home is just as, valid as for doctors, engineers, whatever, teachers, whatever you did back home. But when you come here, you have to revisit everything. You have to re-educate, you have to relearn, you have to re-socialize and all this stuff. So it's very difficult for the generation before me to set this up for the younger people. How about you, Young? What do you find with that?
Yeah, language is a big barrier because in many situations, some subtle situations, those little small talks like filler words can really make you feel awkward if you cannot say that, because it will make you, if you don't say anything, it will make you look or sound abrupt or maybe even impolite, but actually it's just the matter of language. Okay. So if you can deal with people in your own language, you probably would look nicer or with more humor or whatever. And also culture thing also. Language is one thing, culture thing is another one. Or what you did back home is different from what people do here. So it's a matter of learning. Sometimes that difference could lead people think you are rude, but actually it's not rude. And also sometimes you gotta learn the rules here. Just pick up things other people do. Like for me, say the first cultural shock for me, I remember when I first landed in the United States, I went there to study for my graduate degree. It was a culture shock to me, like when strangers say hi to you on the street and smile at you. We didn't do that in China.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it was a shock to me, and it took me a while to get used to that, and even longer to smile back, because I was not used to that. Yeah.
That's an interesting point. And I would think that your example of people smiling and talking to you here is more of a culture shock to me now than thinking that people do or don't smile or talk to you.
Pardon me, what is that? You are used to what?
I'm used
people
to
not
talking and not smiling at you. So it's more shocking to me when somebody says hello, like a stranger says.
Really? I found this like a different maybe between small towns and big cities.
Yeah.
Because I was in Indianapolis, so it's in the Midwest, a big city, but with not so much population. People were friendly. Although sometimes I found out it was out of a habit. Some people, they smile at you, but before you could smile back, they already changed their face. So
yeah, I usually think that the people in the small town are more friendly. Like it's so different from like a downtown Toronto. You know, if someone really like stranger smile to you, you'll feel like, oh, what did it mean, right? You get scared, right? But I live like in the small town. I mean, kind of suburban area in Toronto. But like when I go out for a walk in the park, and the people, you know, that are running the dog, and so we say hello. So we have a small chat. It's quite natural. But I work in downtown Toronto, and then, you know, I usually will not smile or say hello to a stranger. So it's very interesting. Yeah, I guess that's back to the culture topic. I think that's as an immigrant to the North American culture, that's language is sometimes it's a barrier. It is absolutely. But sometimes it's like, I think the culture plays a bigger factor. Sometimes you understand the language, but you really don't know exactly what they mean. You cannot read or hear behind the lines. At least that happens to me. You just you're speaking English, but not talking in the same language, kind of. That's a struggle for, you know. Yeah.
For many people, it's hard to get the joke, to get the point of a joke.
True.
Yeah.
And that's.
Do you find that? But you grew up here, so maybe you don't have that problem.
I have it the opposite way. So sometimes my parents will make a joke in Tamil, and I'm like sitting there going, "Huh?" I take things literally where they meant it sarcastically, but sarcasm sounds different in English, right? Versus in your or different languages. It's a really good point, though, because similar to sometimes, you know, people like poetry, other people don't really like poetry because it's harder to understand between the lines. I think that's one of the points you're making, at least that's the way I see it, is sometimes we talk, but we're more intellectual, or some people have different personalities behind the way they talk. It's not just learning spelling and grammar, right? People put a lot of emphasis or personality behind the things that they're saying, and it's hard to understand that if you're newer to English or newer to the culture, or you weren't born into it, because you think differently when you're born into it. I always tell people I think in Tamil first, because I spent 3 years of my life learning Tamil, and even though that was only 3 years, English is my second language, because I always think in my head in Tamil and then I translate it out into English when I speak to people. But
even now?
Yes, even now. Yeah.
Really?
By default,
you talk to your parents in Tamil.
That's right. At my house, we're not allowed to talk in English. But yeah, so that's very different than someone who, you know, like for example, Young, you think in your mind, or you by default go to certain ways of conjugating or grammar or whatever, and then you have to translate that into English. What does it sound like, right? Obviously, the more you practice, the less difficult it becomes, but there is this disconnect between the second or third or fourth language you learn versus that first one. The first one always feels native. That's what I find for myself.
Yeah, but the more you practice it, or you're exposed to a foreign language, I mean second language environment, then you'll get, it will be easier for you to think even in that language. But for me, like always I remember numbers in Chinese. Or if I have to write down a phone number, it's always like numbers in Chinese. I can really, you know, get it quickly.
Most definitely.
That's so true.
Spelling, right? Different things like that. Accents, that's another thing, because sometimes letters are so different than your own language versus English. So the accent always comes out a little messy when you're first learning.
Accent, when I was in university, I learned how to pronounce, like after radio. I listened to Voice of America. So then I tried to imitate. At that time, I cared much about accent, but now I don't really care about it. I think I'm Chinese. If I have some Chinese accent, that's perfectly normal. So I don't care that much.
Right. Yeah. And here it's supposed to be a mosaic, right? The multicultural mosaic. So you have people with all kinds of accents and dialects, and even within your own people, there's so many kinds of those people here. So,
but I don't know what how like most local people would think, because now I don't care about it, but maybe some people care about it. That I don't know.
That's true. That's a good point. I think that's part of the nervousness, because that's what my dad says. He doesn't like speaking in English because he feels that people aren't understanding what he's saying because of how thick his accent is. So there's these like little quirks that I think can make people very hesitant to learn new languages or to speak out with new languages. So,
Yeah, actually, I really like your style of like a presentation. Like, is that like some like a talent inborn from you, or that really takes some time to practice?
I think it takes practice. I've been presenting and performing from a young age, but I didn't always like it. So I didn't really care about it. But my mom, she was in media as well when she was in Sri Lanka. So she taught me a lot of things like projecting my voice and all the different skill sides of things. Because sometimes you have some talent, but you still have to hone it and make sure that you're doing the things right or engagingly. So that's what I've been working on lately, like the last 2-3 years. But thank you.
Thank you.
So I think it's like after 9 now. I don't have an exact time, to be honest with you.
Let me
I
check
saw
it
in
for
the
9,
chat.
11 now.
Okay, sorry, I just saw the chat. There's Sarah. She wants to ask a question. I don't know, Sarah, if you can. And she wants to change the topic. So Sarah, if you can hear me, you can just ask a question before Ramya leave, I guess.
Yeah, just unmute yourself.
Sarah, do you have a question? Either you want to put in the chat or ask.
Is Sarah there?
Not sure. If she puts it in the chat, somebody can read it as well.
Eric, could you please check? Are there any questions in chat room?
Sorry. She sent me a message. How do I chat? Sorry, Sarah, I don't understand you.
Are you just type in that chat room?
So Sarah, can you send a message to everyone?
Or you just unmute yourself, just jump in and talk to Ramya.
She said, how do I chat? I'm trying. Sarah, can you unmute yourself and ask the question?
I tried to unmute Sarah, but I'm not able to.
Can you see if she...
You can unmute yourself.
She said, I'm trying, but not succeeding, so...
Oh. Yeah, because I'm trying to unmute you too as well.
In the chat, in 2, you can select everyone and the message will be public.
And who is this lady? What's your name, please? I cannot see your name here, other than Ramya and Eric there.
Oh, Sarah, I think you're here.
Oh.
How do you say your name? The one.
Me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my name is Dongmei.
Dongmei.
Yeah.
Oh, Dongmei.
Yeah.
Great.
What is the English name for Mei? Mei Hua.
I have no English name, unfortunately.
Okay, I mean that Mei Hua. What is the English name for? Ramya, Dongmei in Chinese, it means a kind of flower in the winter.
Oh wow.
Is that so? Dongmei. Yeah.
Oh, pretty. Is it common to know the meanings behind the names, like any name in Chinese?
Not really. In Chinese, that I guess many names has a specific meaning behind it.
Yeah, usually yes, because it consists of like different characters, and each character has a meaning or more meanings, like several meanings.
Yeah.
So like my name, it means the ocean.
That's so awesome.
Thank you. And Ramya, how about yours?
Ramya is beauty. That's the generic version of it. It sounds much better in the description in Tamil, but you know.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
Okay,
I
Sarah's
think
question here.
someone asked how often we meet. Before we meet weekly during school years, but now it's different. So we meet on Zoom. So far, we've been holding 5-6 sessions once a week. And next 3 will be in Mandarin. And after that, we're still planning. So I don't really know.
I just want to say I made Eric host, I believe. So
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
So, Dongmei, would you like to do the presentation?
Oh no, I didn't prepare anything. I just like jumped in today, and then some people, my friend passed me the Zoom ID today. Says, "Oh, let me take a look."
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Not maybe next time. I wouldn't mind. Yeah. Today I didn't prepare anything.
Sure.
Meeting a lot anyway, so we appreciate it.
Yeah. But
People are
it's
shy.
really, yeah, I just want to say really appreciate Ramya to spending the time tonight to share your experience. It's just wonderful, so amazing. Yeah, it's for me it's very, very educational, I have to say that. And it's lots of fun, you know, you showing us how the vocal. Personally, I also like singing, but really like at some point like damage my vocal a little bit. So yeah, maybe at some time like I can learn some, you know, have some vocal lesson from you to help. But also I'm working to improve my presentation skills. I found that that's a very, very, it's a very useful skill in the North American culture. Quite different from where I am from, but I just feel like it's really a much needed skills that personally I want to improve, and also my children, I want them to improve as well. So yeah, I enjoyed tonight, and then really I want to thank Wang Yang, right, for organizing this. So it's amazing. I really hope I can join more and more to this club.
You're very welcome, and thank you for your very nice compliments.
Yeah.
To Ramya and to the club. May I know what you do? You said you need public speech skills a lot.
Yeah, I'm in the finance management career, so yeah, there's lots of you know, sometimes I have to do the presentation. I always like get scared, and then, you know, get nervous, and I admire some of my colleagues. They're just like feel like so confident, you know, in the boardroom, but not me. So yeah, I just really feel like I need to practice more.
Yeah, I was gonna say practice is the big thing, but you sound amazing. So it's not on your voice or your tone or your pacing. You have great skills. So.
Oh, thank you, very encouraging.
Thank you.
The way I do that is if I cannot, I'm not sure about myself, I do it over and over time again. Like I practice more. So yeah.
Definitely.
But generally it's just like talking to people. So then I just talk to them. So
I agree.
Well, as I grow older, I feel more relaxed.
I agree. I think that people get nervous because they think, oh, it's more people, right? So yeah, there's some things you have to have or work on for facilitation. But if you can talk confidently with 1 or 2 people, it gets easier to talk confidently with 3 people, and then 5 people, and then 10 people in a boardroom, and then maybe 20 people at a club. Like it's just, it's not that much higher if you just spread it out a little bit. Yeah. But thank you. I just want to say thank you to everybody too for coming out, because I know that with the virtual experiences, some people love them, some people not big fans of them, and also if you're going to enjoy yourself or take something away. So I hope that you guys all took something away from today, especially or even if it's about yourself, you know, something that you relate to that I was talking about. I really appreciate everybody coming out and listening to me talk and then also just listening in general. So thank you so much. And thanks, Young.
Well, thank you, Ramya. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
So, are there any questions for Ramya from the audience now?
Hi, Ramya. This is Mia.
Hi, Mia.
Hi. It's my privilege to join this meeting. Thank you very much for your presentation. And also, I enjoyed the conversation between you and Yang. And also, Dong Mei. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you. Is that Vivian or Mia?
Mia.
Vivian? Oh, Mia. Hi.
Yes, I'm your old friend.
Yes.
Yeah. So I also have a question for Ramya, please. I have a problem actually to communicate with people virtually. For example, in Zoom, usually I don't really want to talk in Zoom. Somehow I don't know why. So Ramya, could you please maybe share some solutions or ideas from you?
Absolutely. I'm very, very
Excuse me, may I interrupt a little bit? There's noise in the background. Eric, are you the host now? Can you mute?
No, I am not currently the host, but I can reclaim host.
Yes, please.
Yeah, can you reclaim? Yes, please.
Okay.
Oh,
then
got it.
Should I give Ramya back the host?
No, please keep
it. No, Ramya can unmute herself, and you can like mute the noise.
I will mute all then.
Yeah, thank
you. And then maybe you can
Oh shit.
Or oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
So we were saying that because Zoom is a virtual platform, right? And sometimes you have these meetings like today where there's maybe over 20 people involved. And even if the host gives you the platform or the presenter gives you the platform and says, okay, does anybody want to say anything? You get nervous or you don't know if other people are going to jump in. And what I do is I always wait. I wait so long. I wait until everybody else is done. And then by the end of it, I'm like, oh, I guess I didn't get to say what I wanted to say. And then I leave. But what you can do is you can utilize other parts of the platform to make yourself comfortable to get involved in the conversation. So you can maybe send a message on the chat saying, I'd like to say something. Is it okay if I speak now? Or you can raise your hand. A lot of hosts give you the opportunity to raise hand, like the button that says raise hand, so they can come and choose you. But I would definitely, Mia, make those first steps to talking. So the longer you wait, the more likely you're not going to speak. And then if you didn't speak this meeting, you might not feel comfortable speaking in another meeting. But the opposite happens if you decide you will speak. So like right now, you unmuted yourself and you got the courage to say something right now. And it's better that you did that because then next time you'll say, oh, wow, that was really cool. I'm going to speak at this meeting too. But if you feel uncomfortable just unmuting and jumping in, everybody feels that way. The virtual platforms are very sticky, you don't know who's going to talk and who's going to have background noise and what's going to happen. Maybe the host will decide to mute everybody or unmute everybody. So just I would utilize the chat platform or the raise hand option, and just that gives them an idea that you wanted to say something.
All right. So practice makes perfect, right? Yeah, I gotta try more.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's nerve-wracking for sure. I totally understand.
But it's always difficult for me to jump in because I would be.
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Yang, I think we lost you. Can you repeat that?
Oh, yeah, it's always not that easy for me to interrupt because like what you said, I would wait and say, oh, does he or she finish,
can I say something now? But sometimes people keep talking. It's hard to jump in
because there's
and then then time goes, then you'll say, oh yeah, it's over now. Next topic.
In these platforms, it's not very different from when you're in a boardroom. I've been in lots of meetings where I've had something to say, but I just never raise my hand, or I never say, can I step in and say something now? And by the end of the meeting, it's been 2 hours and I still haven't said what I wanted to say, and I just leave.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's not that different from Zoom. If you think about it, you have to be the one to initiate. I'm going to take a sip of water. Hold on.
Yeah, maybe raise a hand. I mean, literally in a boardroom, raise a hand.
Yes.
Maybe a good idea.
Silences. Take advantage of when there is space in the meeting, and instead of waiting and saying, okay, who else is going to say something? Should I wait a little longer? Just take advantage of those spots, and it does take courage. So yeah, bring up the courage to try to put your hand up, or just politely say, is it okay if I say something? Or in the Zoom meetings, in the chat panel, like Sarah's been saying, I'd like to speak. Which reminds me, is it okay if we unmute Sarah so that hopefully we can hear her speak?
Eric, can you unmute Sarah?
I can only ask to unmute. I can't manually unmute.
That's why I was having trouble with it. Yeah, so maybe let's ask her if we can unmute. And then Sarah, maybe you can click yes.
Oh, she's unmuted now.
Sarah, are you here? Sarah, I think we hear you. Maybe not. Yes. Okay, Sarah, you can speak. We can hear you, I think, if you speak. Maybe she is.
Maybe her audio is not set up.
Are you speaking, Sarah? Because if you are, we can't hear you. Okay. Either way, yeah, it's a really tough thing, because some people, they get comfortable and they talk and they don't really need to stop talking because they're doing it. Yes, it's asking you permission, Sarah. So you can say yes or allow. I think, I'm not sure what it comes up with. But the host is asking you permission to unmute. Okay, great. She's going to figure that out. And yeah, in the meantime, she says it doesn't do anything.
Maybe later you need to play with Zoom a little bit more.
Yeah, because unfortunately it's not letting you tap to speak in the first page, somebody else has said. But yeah, so it's not easy for anybody, especially for myself as an introvert, and like you guys are saying, Mia and Young, same thing. But if you just kind of jump in with your thought, eventually you will get better at jumping in during commentary and not interrupting, because nobody really needs to learn to interrupt. But yeah.
Sorry, Sarah.
No, sorry.
We don't seem to be able to help you. Okay. And does anybody here have any question for Ramya? Okay, then then we'll probably we'll call it a day. Okay. Thank you so very much, Ramya. I really enjoyed your genuine sharing with us. I learned a lot from you as an introvert. I learned from another introvert. That's great. And thank you, our audience, for taking the time to join us. I really appreciate that. Next week, we're going to have a Zoom meeting on the topic of architecture. So there will be an architect coming to share with us. It will be conducted in Mandarin.
Very nice.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll call it a day. Ramya, I hope in the future you can come again. We will enjoy
For sure. I hope to meet you guys all in person one day soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So yeah, everybody have a good night.
Good night.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Good night.